Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Elise DeVito and I'm the chair of the English Language and Literature Department at City University. Every day the news from Ukraine is heartbreaking. How did it come to this? What's the background? Let's take a brief look at the culturally rich but turbulent and often tragic history of Ukraine. Ukraine has a multicultural history with many different rulers, languages, religions, and customs, and many wars. In the 7th century BC, an ancient people called the Scythians lived in what is now Ukraine. Later, the Greeks settled near the Black Sea. Then, in the 9th century AD, Swedish Vikings captured Kiev, and it became the capital of a powerful state called Kievan Rus. During this time, Ukraine converted to Eastern Orthodox Christianity. This state comprised parts of modern Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. Disaster struck in 1240 when the Mongols conquered parts of Ukraine, and later other areas were taken over by the Poles, Lithuanians, and the Ottoman Empire. In the 18th century, Catherine the Great, Empress of Russia, conquered eastern Ukraine. So you can see all the cultures that have passed through Ukraine: Scythians, Greeks, Slavs, Vikings, Mongols, Poles, Lithuanians, Turks, and Russians. In the 19th century, Russia controlled the Ukraine, but Ukrainians were forming their own identity. In 1918, when Russia had civil war and revolution, Ukraine became independent for a short time. However, in 1921, the Russians forced Ukraine to become part of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union dictator Joseph Stalin caused a terrible famine in 1932 to 1933 that took the lives of 7 million people, because the farmers were forced to give their grain to the government. Ukrainians called this terrible time the Holodomor. But it got worse. In World War II, German and Soviet armies caused 7 to 8 million deaths, including 1.6 million Jews. After World War II, it could be said that being part of the Soviet Union helped with Ukraine's later independence. Ukraine's national borders became clear, and Ukrainian leaders gained experience ruling their state. But in 1986 came the nuclear power plant meltdown at Chernobyl in Ukraine. This was one reason among many that some Ukrainians began to protest against Soviet rule. In 1991, communism collapsed and the Soviet Union broke up. Ukraine again became independent. A peaceful mass protest called the Orange Revolution in late 2004 resulted in the first democratically elected president in Ukraine. More ups and downs followed, debates about whether Ukraine should join the EU, and in 2014, Russia invaded and took over Crimea. And on February 24th of this year, Russia invaded Ukraine. It's hard to know how and when this war will end. Vladimir Putin repeatedly says Ukraine is an inalienable part of Russia's history, culture, and spiritual space. Many Russians agree with him, but to say that Ukraine is an inalienable part of Russia ignores the facts that in history, not all parts of the Ukraine belong to Russia. And many Ukrainians are Orthodox Christian. 80% of Ukrainians are Orthodox Christians, but others are Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, or Protestant. The current president, Volodymyr Zelensky, is Jewish, for example. Many people of Russian background have lived and worked in Ukraine for generations and consider Ukraine as their homeland. In sum, Ukrainians have sacrificed so much to build their modern democratic nation. Many people all over the world are giving aid and support to Ukrainians in so many ways, including慈济Foundation and慈济University. Let's pray that peace comes to Ukraine soon and they can rebuild their beautiful country. To close, I'd like to read a famous poem by Ukraine's national poet, Taras Shevchenko. This poem is called A Cherry Orchard by the House. A cherry orchard by the house. Above the cherries, beetles hum. The plowmen plow the fertile ground, and girls sing songs as they pass by. It's evening. Mother calls them home. A family sups by the house. A star shines in the evening chill. A daughter serves the evening meal. Time to give lessons. Mother tries but can't. She blames the nightingale. It's getting dark, and by the house, a mother lays her young to sleep. Beside them, she too fell asleep. All now went still, and just the girls and nightingale their vigil keep. Thank you.